Welcome to my series called Python from Zero, where we learn Python from scratch and from the very beginning. So in this lesson, we're going to learn about variables. So without further ado, let's go straight to the topic. So in Python, we have variables, and these variables are containers for storing data. In other terms, this is a way to store data. So for example, we have a box and we have a ball, and we want to store that ball inside a box. So when we store that ball inside a box, essentially we could relate this to variables, being that the box is the variable because it's storing the ball, and the ball being the data because it's being stored in the variable. In Python, there are variable rules. For example, a variable name must start with a letter or an underscore character. It cannot start with numbers because it will be an error. For example, it could be name or it could be underscore name for the name for the variable. A variable name cannot also start with a number, like I said. It cannot start with 1, 2, or 0 to 9 numbers, for example, 1 underscore name, because it will be an error. Another is that a variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters. When we say alphanumeric characters, it means characters from A to Z, or A, B, C, D in the English alphabet, to 0 to 9. These are the numbers, and also the underscore. So the next rule is that the variable names are case sensitive, which means every name differs. For example, this kind of name is different from this kind of name, and the name this kind is different. They are all three different variables because Python variables are case sensitive, which means they take note of the sensitive or the caps of the letters. Now, the last rule is that the variable name cannot be any of the Python keywords. A Python keyword is the if, the else, those kinds of functions that are built in Python. For example, the class, the definition, and all those kinds. It cannot be a variable name because it will be an error. Now, there are three ways to assign variables, and this is just basics. So assign a variable. So the first one is one to value to many variables, which is age is equals to age is equals to age is equals to 17. Since we know that Python variables are case sensitive, we know that these are different variables, which is assigned to one value, which is 17. For an analogy, let's say we have three boxes in one ball, and since we're assigning one value to all these multiple variables, it means that we're going to store this one ball into the three balls. Essentially, that's what's happening. Even though in real life it cannot happen because we only have one ball, but in programming it's very possible. Now, in one value to one variable, which is age is equals to 17, meaning that 17 is assigned to age, or the number 17 or the value 17 is stored in age. For example, we have a box and we have a ball. So single box and single ball are one value or one variable stored into one. Now, many values to multiple variables. So you have age, 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 which are different in case sensitivities or different in case, meaning they're different variables and assigned to different values, 15, 16, and 19. We can do this an analogy as having three boxes and also at the same time having three balls. And depending on their position is where they are assigned or where they are going to be stored. For example, the first ball is assigned to the first box, the second ball is assigned to the second box, the third box assigned to the third ball. The thing about the many values to multiple variables is that we cannot have not the same or not the similar or the similar values or the similar amounts of values and variables. For example, we have two boxes and we have only one ball. Though it is a one value multiple variables, but we cannot make it a many values to multiple variables. Meaning, if we want to assign these kinds, we have to have the same amount of values and variables. So, for example, we have three balls and we want to store it in two. It's not possible and it will be an error. So we need three boxes to store three balls. Now, the next one. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.